I didn't mean like that. Like, tear him apart because I was mad. Desiree. Joe, stop talking like Peter Griffin. I'm recording. Hello, everybody. My husband, Peter Griffin, is here. But I've collected my thoughts, and contrary to how it may appear, I do collect my thoughts before I get on here to do. I read the chapter very thoroughly, and then I think this is all the stuff I'm going to talk about, and instead, I don't, and I just show you a Cyberman head. All right, so we're on chapter 3, The Movement. Oh, check this out. I should always show the cover, because that's good promo. This is Blood Ties, Book 1, The Turning, by Jennifer Armentrout. I like that they used on the cover the same font as the cover on Gregory Maguire's books. It made me feel famous and important. Okay. So at this point, Nathan has convinced Carrie that she's a vampire and they need to talk. So they go upstairs to his apartment, which, you know, as I said in in one of the videos so far, that it's above Argos Bookshop in East Grand Rapids. In fact, I think if you probably can Google Earth or Google Map or do whatever witchcraft it takes to find a picture of Argos Books in East Grand Rapids, and there's an apartment above it, and that would be where Carrie and Nathan, you know, where Carrie ends up living with Nathan. Spoilers! Sorry, I'm so glad that I'm not a time traveler. Okay. So she goes upstairs to Nathan's apartment, and it says, Nathan's apartment was small, with too much furniture. The walls were lined with bracketed shelves, the kind you'd buy in a home improvement store and put up on a weekend. Some were so laden with books that they bowed in the middle. Notebooks and legal pads, all scribbled on in barely legible handwriting, littered the coffee table. It was cluttered, but not dirty. Okay, so that's basically book porn. I spent so much time imagining all the books lined up and the knickknacks on the shelves and stuff like that for Nathan's apartment that I think, I don't know, maybe I'll win the lottery and I'll build my own version of Nathan's apartment, because I really, when I was writing the book, got sucked into the idea of this little tiny, you know, 2-bedroom apartment, and it was kind of, you know, it was kind of cool. It was just, I don't know. I can see it in my head the same way I can see Hogwarts in my head. I'm not comparing myself to Harry Potter. I'm just saying there are some things that in books, when they're described, you can see them in your head, and this one I just happen to be writing. Let's see. Ziggy's playing music. It's really loud, and they're talking about stuff, and she's like, I don't get how he has a son who's a teenager when he looks like he's in his 30s. And then he's going to make some blood. He's going to heat some blood up in a tea kettle, and they're going to sit down and have a spot of blood, have a spot of A positive. I'm sorry, I shouldn't try to do other cultures' accents. It's like offensive, and I do it all the time. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Also, if it sounds like World War II out there, and this, oh my God, I brought up Great Britain and World War II in the same. But anyway, it's out there. It's they're playing Battlefield 3, and it just, all it is all day long is just guns and tanks and snipers, and then yelling at like 13-year-old kids on Xbox Live. And then the 13-year-old kids yelling back, and they are foul. They don't know sportsmanship on Battlefield 3. All right. Let's see. So he's like, do you want some blood? And she's like, haha, no. Because a normal person would not want to drink blood. Unless it's in Lost Boys, and Kiefer Sutherland is like, want to come join our awesome group of awesome vampires with super cool hair and long feathery earrings? Yes, I do, Kiefer Sutherland. Yes, I do. I just thought of something. Kiefer Sutherland was engaged to marry Julia Roberts. And then Julia Roberts left him like days before the wedding for Jason Patric. And Kiefer and Jason Patric were both in The Lost Boys. I never even realized that before. Like, I didn't make that connection. That's amazing. Okay. So, she wants to know what's up with Ziggy. So she just kind of Oh, and Nathan lays down a vampire rule here. He says, we're not susceptible to the ravages of time or disease, and we have a healing ability that increases with age. But the list of things that can kill us is a mile long. Sunlight, holy water, hell, even a bad enough car accident can take us out. So I wanted it to be like, it's not an immortality thing and not an impervious thing. I wanted my vampires, death could be very real. And, when I planned that, I didn't think I was going to bring every character in the entire series back to life a million times. That happened later, but it's hard to let go. So she says something about, like, does your son know that you're a vampire? And he's like, well, Ziggy's not my son. He's kind of just my friend. And she's like, oh, God, you like him young, kind of. And he's like, no, nothing like that. He's just my blood donor. But Nathan's kind of playing it cool with Carrie and not showing how attached he is, because you wouldn't do that to a stranger if you live in a dangerous world, right? You wouldn't be like, and he is the person I care about the most. That, because somebody could use it for revenge. Let's see, more about his accent, because I really wanted to hammer it home that this guy's got a hot Scottish accent. He accuses her of doing it on purpose. He accuses Carrie of becoming a vampire on purpose. And she loses her absolute shit. She's just like, who would do this to themselves? Why would someone do this? Why would someone do it in this way and almost die in the process? Why would I do this if it's making my life horrible? And why would I be trying to find answers? I would already know. So then she starts crying, and Nathan puts his arms around her. And I even describe how Nathan smells. Distinctly male and slightly soapy, as if he'd just gotten out of the shower. I like to imagine he smells like Irish Spring. Holy Moses. God, I'm falling in love with Nathan all over again. Jen, you're such a good writer. Okay. So he hugs her, and, like, it makes everything all better, because that would make everything all better. Then chair being picked up, stuff happening. They talk about how she got changed and how the change isn't quite complete. And then he brings out the Sanguinarius. And I just had this, because of the way I said that, I had this distinct image of, from Dr. Horrible, Captain Hammer being like, the hammer is my penis. But, like, the Sanguinarius is my penis. Are you taking a bath in that sink? What is going on? The water has been running forever.
I am cooking hamburgers.
That was my husband in that little door back there. He's cooking hamburgers. That just makes you more sexy. Okay. So he gives her the Sanguinarius. And it's actually called The Sanguinarius, a practical guide to the habits of vampires. With a Y, because it's more magical when you use a Y and a K. And it's a book about how to kill vampires. It's kind of like the Malleus Maleficarum? I think I said that right. I'm not good at Latin. Wasn't for me. I really struggled with anything Latin in high school. I went to a Catholic high school. Latin came up. So, let's see. They made us chant one time. They made us, like, go into the chapel and then try to, like, do a Gregorian chant thing. And so let's see. He's telling her about the order, or the Order of the Blood Brethren, which became the Voluntary Vampire Extinction Movement. There were 14 clauses under the order, but the movement enforces only 3. No vampire shall feed from any unwilling human. No vampire shall create another vampire, and no vampire shall harm or kill a human. When I first started writing this, I was like, there should be this big, long list of rules, and then I got, like, halfway through the book, and I was like, you fool! You utter, blind, stupid fool. You are never going to remember all of these things. So I pared it down to 3. Rule of 3. 3 is a good number. 3 like this if you don't want to get shot in Inglourious Basterds. In American Sign Language, 3's like this as well. Because if 3 was like this, it would be W. So he tells her that Cyrus sired her. He tells her the name of her sire, and that he had been on the run from the movement for more than 30 years and longer in other parts of the world. He's only been in America for 30 years. He's been all around the world. The injuries that brought him to your emergency room were incurred during an attempted execution. And she is really Carrie's really freaked out by that, because like she's like, if you had seen what he looked like and how awful that is. And Nathan was like, I did see him. I did that to him. So now she knows that Nathan is, he's dangerous. Let's see. So they know he's in town. They're going to kill him. Yeah, I don't think I ever established why Nathan went to Grand Rapids in the first place. I wonder why he picked it. Because he and Ziggy have been there longer. I should write a short story on my blog. Yeah. Okay, this is my promise. I'm going to write a short story about Nathan, like an origin story or something, or at least how he came to Grand Rapids and stuff, and why. And then I'll post it on my blog. Are we cool with that? I think I can do that. I think as long as I'm not making money off of it and not sharing it with anybody else, let me check and make sure I can do that. Okay. And if I can, I'll post it to my blog. So they talk about how they don't want to make any new vampires, and he explains the blood tie. When a vampire exchanges blood with a human to create another vampire, their blood stays in the new vampire's veins forever. It builds something called a blood tie. Title of the book. I love it when the title of a book is, or the title of the movie is in the movie. So, ta-da! For the sire, it's a way of controlling their fledglings like an invisible leash. The tie weakens as time goes by, but the fledgling and sire will still feel each other's emotions, physical pain, and hunger. The fledgling will always be ruled by the sire's blood, and most of them don't want to change. It lasts after death. Even if the sire dies, he can still wreak havoc on the world through his fledglings. So the fledgling's always going to stay loyal to his sire, and he can still control even beyond death. Kind of what's going on. Let's see. So Nathan's like, yeah, I belong to the movement. And yes, I am aware that there is a voluntary human extinction movement. And there's a reason that I call it the voluntary vampire extinction movement. I just thought it was funny. I just thought it would be, like this movement exists and it's kind of this peaceful, like, we're just not going to have any kids and hope that eventually it all sorts itself out. And then like have the voluntary vampire extinction movement and it would just be like blood and chainsaws. D-Rock is out there crying. She's so happy. Their team won on Battlefield 3. Then Nathan sees the scar that she has, and he like pushes her hair aside, and he's like, "Oh, he really got you," and it's kind of sexy or whatever. But then he's all like, "Oh, and by the way, I'll kill you if you don't join the movement. Those are your choices." And that's how he makes his money, is working for the movement. And then she goes through about how, John Doe wasn't very hot. And, because of the eye thing, probably. And he asks for a couple of weeks. And there's some sexual tension. And then Ziggy comes out and, is just being angry and teenage-like. And I'm kind of sad that either Skrillex didn't come out back then, or I had written these books now, because now that I know who Skrillex is, because I'm impossibly old, but I do know who he is, I would have said, Ziggy had Skrillex hair, because that's kind of how I imagined it. And so he gives her the Sanguinarius and lets her go. And then he's like, by the way, if you're going to feed, if you have to feed, come to me. Do that first, because immediately you'll change. And that'll make the change complete. So she's like, yeah, okay, that's really important. I'll remember that. So we'll see if she remembers that in chapter 4 of the best vampire novel ever written.